And this is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace, which is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy. And so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term. And maybe it worked out for the moms and dads, though I'm skeptical, but it really didn't work out for the kids of those marriages. And I think that's what all of us should be honest about, is we've run this experiment in real time, and what we have is a lot of very, very real family dysfunction that's making our kids unhappy.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. Like, share, subscribe to the channel, expanding the platform, feeling good about it, liking where we're at right now. But I just want to thank everybody for supporting it. But let's get into this one because there's a lot to get into. That was JD Vance. That is Trump's vice president, or his running mate right now. JD Vance is a right-wing extremist, to say the least. If you listen to this rhetoric that that he spewed in that clip, essentially what he's advocating for is for women to stay in toxic and dangerous abusive relationships with men for the betterment of the children. Now, those of us that have kids, we know that that doesn't make sense at all, right? Because if the mother is abused and the mother is harmed, then the kids will feel that, and they will also end up being harmed by that. Even if the kids themselves aren't being physically abused, they are most certainly emotionally abused. If the mother is physically and emotionally abused, the kids will definitely be emotionally abused, no matter how you slice it. So a woman getting out of a relationship like that is the best thing for her and the kids, because here's the thing. I've said this once, I'll say it 1,000 times. The turnout of the children, right, is directly connected to the mental health of the mother. So if the mother is in a mentally unhealthy relationship, then she should leave that relationship for the betterment of the children. The children didn't suffer simply because the woman left the relationship. That's not what happened, JD. You got to be honest about this. This is top flight gaslighting at his best. He is trying to gaslight women. He's trying to gaslight women into believing that they're the problem. The reason why they're leaving is because, I don't know, they just felt like leaving. Like, no, the reason the kids turned out bad is because the woman just felt like leaving. That's not what happened.
And this is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace.
Why do they always talk about, not why? What these guys are trying to do is they're trying to blame everything on feminism. They're planting the seed in men's minds for us to think that everything was so much better before the feminist revolution, before women's suffrage, so on and so forth, right? So they want to keep planting the seed and beating it into men, subtly or, aggressively. But they want to beat this message into men's brains that it was all good back then. We need to get back. We need to get back. MAGA, 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 MAGA.
Which is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent.
Sorry. And also all of those things that they blame women for, all of that stuff ultimately leads to violence against women. So think about it. If JD Vance and the like are out here telling men that it's feminist fault, it's the fault of feminism that their life sucks, what do you think men are going to do with that? You think they're just going to try to vote it out in the booth? You think they're just going to go to the booth and try to get rid of it through, I know what I'll do. I'll wait for Trump to run and I'll vote it out. Like, no. When women organize, they'll show up. When women and men are trying to fight for equity amongst men and women, or LGBTQIA feminine presenting folks are trying to fight for equity, guess who's going to be there? Men. The men will be there. The misogynistic men will be there to defend their right, to stop the progress, because people like JD Vance, and I have some more clips in here, but people like JD Vance are planting this very dangerous seed that that everything that's going wrong in society is due to feminism.
were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy. And so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear.
That's another seed they like to plant often, is that women are just, their minds are like little flutter birds. They're little hummingbirds in their minds. And they just wake up every day and they go, you know what? I feel like leaving my man because he annoyed me last night. Like, that is not what's going on. JD knows that. All of these dudes know that. They're lying. They're gaslighting. Women are leaving, like he said. Maybe they're abusive. Maybe she's unhappy. That's a good enough reason. That's a good enough reason. I advocate for divorces to be as easy as ordering a package on Amazon. I think divorces should be like the click of a button. And I don't think you need both parties to agree. I don't. I think my wife should be able to leave me right now if she wants to, without me knowing. Like, seriously, like, what? You're putting people at risk. Why do I need to know that she wants to divorce me? The same way, why would I need to know if she wanted to just walk out the door? Like, if we weren't married. You know what I'm saying? Now, after the fact, I should definitely be alerted. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying it shouldn't take me to sign and for her to sign. Well, who cares if I sign? What does her freedom have to do with me? Why do I have any say so in stopping her from being happy or being free or whatever the case may be? I hate that. I think divorces should be go and sign. I mean, get online. How I got my wallet stolen not too long ago, and I had to buy a new driver's license. I had to get a new driver's license, and I did it with the click of a button. It took me 5 minutes. Same thing with my cards. I replaced my cards in 6 minutes. That's how easy it should be to get a divorce. Men should be able to wake up one day and say, I'm leaving, and not have to tell the man or the woman and go online and go to whatever state or city website you need to go to and click a button and boop, and you're gone. Just like that. Dissolved. Just like that. Why see a judge? What are you talking about? If the person that's leaving is not worried about money and all of that, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a different thing. You can get divorced and then sort that stuff out. You can get divorced and then sort that stuff out. Now let's talk about the money. Now let's talk about the how do we divide the house? How do we divide, the time with the kid? Whatever, right? But that person, specifically the women, should not be put at risk, because we all know that men become very, very violent. Often men become very violent during the breakups. When the men realize that the women are out, the men become very violent, and the women become very vulnerable to violence. So yeah, I want it to be easy.
That's going to make people happier in the long term. And maybe it worked out for the moms and dads, though I'm skeptical, but it really didn't work out for the kids of those marriages. And I think that,
of course, it worked out for the kids if the kids didn't have to suffer abuse. Period. Of course it worked out for the kids, JD. But just looking at this in a vacuum and not acknowledging all the other real world implications of a divorce for a woman or a man, but for a woman specifically, like most of the time she's tasked with the responsibility of taking care of the children and raising them on her own, because the man often leaves after a divorce or after a breakup, right? So now she's financially strapped. She's financially responsible, financially burdened. That leads to a lot of the other problems. JD doesn't want to address that because the Republicans nor the Democrats, really, neither party want to address what's going on. If you gave every single person in this country a living wage, if you gave everybody in this country a place to live, if you gave everybody in this country access to a higher education, but definitely give everybody a real education, 0 through 12, a real education. And I honestly think that college should be mandatory. I honestly think that it should be 0 through 16. I think college should be mandatory. Period, point blank. And if you want to make it shorter, weave in college classes in high school. Some of those classes in high school aren't needed. They talking about getting rid of home ec. They talking about get rid of some of these classes. Don't get rid of band class. You know what I'm saying? Make some. If you educate the kids, give them a real true education, right? And really no child should be left behind type vibes. You make sure everybody's up to snuff, or as many kids as possible, then you can start giving them college curriculum in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Now they're a semester or two ahead. Now they only got 3 years of school to go. 2.5 if they're doing good. AP classes should count as college courses. Some of them do, actually. So what are y'all doing? The vast majority of kids in America, there's no reason for the vast majority of kids in America to not be able to do AP classes, AP caliber classes. That's the cure, JD. Not trying to trap women in toxic relationships. That's not the cure. That's not the cure. It's the opposite.
But it really didn't work out for the kids of those marriages. And I think that's what all of us should be honest about, is we've run this experiment in real time, and what we have is a lot of very, very real family dysfunction.
I'm happy my dad wasn't in my life. I'm happy he wasn't in my life. He was toxic. I'm happy that my mom didn't stick around and allow him to abuse her for 20 years for my sake. I'm so happy that she did. That's one of the best decisions she's ever made, was getting rid of my dad, without a doubt. I'm so happy she did that. As the child you're talking about now, yeah, I grew up in poverty. Yep, all of those things. But that wasn't because my mom left my dad. That's because my dad abandoned us. That was his choice to abandon us. It was my mom's choice to leave him. It was my father's choice to abandon us. Two completely different scenarios. Let's get to some of these other clips. I'm going to show you guys how all of these talking heads, how all of this stuff ties in together. Right? Watch this. Remember this?
In your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career?
He's doing the same thing. The most diabolical lies ever told. What did JD Vance say? He's blaming feminism. Who told these women these diabolical lies? The feminists. Same rhetoric. Same rhetoric.
Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as
Your wife is married to a multimillionaire, sir.
a mother. I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation.
I'm not taking anything away from your wife, but your mom is a freaking scientist. Who got you to college? You? Oh. By the way, where was your dad at? I'll wait.
I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school
Crocodile tears.
would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
Get the fuck out of here. Now, homemaker, stay-at-home wife, stay-at-home mother, whatever you want to call it, just mother. Very, very, very much the most important title anyone can ever have. Father, parent, whatever, because you are responsible for other human beings, not just yourself. Definitely. Right? No doubt about it.
Cater to our children. She's the one who ensures I never knows me best at my core, and it is through our marriage that, Lord willing, we will both. If she has any regrets on her decision, she would laugh out
Oh, hold on. This is the part I wanted to look at.
closer to God's will in their life.
Watch this.
Isabel's dream of having a career might not have come true, but if you asked her today if she has any regrets on her decision, she would laugh out loud without hesitation and say, heck no.
We know, Harrison, your wife, once again, is married to a multi-millionaire. Of course. What man, or if my wife was a multi-millionaire, I wouldn't do crap but take care of my kids. What are you talking about? Nobody wants to work in this economy. Nobody wants to work in a capitalist society. My wife is in education. I made this assumption and I was wrong. Right? My wife has her master's degree. well-educated, one of the most caring people I've ever met. She cares deeply about her profession. She takes great pride in it. She does a great job. Probably the best at her job. I'm not gonna even hold y'all. That ain't me just tooting her horn. She's always the best. With that being said, I thought that my wife like would never want to stop working. Like I thought she just loved her job, right? And I remember making the comment to somebody one day. I was like, yeah, even if I made like $500,000, my wife, she probably would still work. Then one day in conversation, I asked my wife, would she still work if I made like X amount of dollars? And she looked at me and was like, no. She was like, I would quit the next day. And I was like, oh, okay. Misconception. Right? Now, in my mind, I'm like, she wants to protect herself, all those types of things. I want to make sure that she has enough money. I want to make sure she has a retirement, like all those things, right? My wife was like, I don't care about none of that. If you are worth that money, we got it, right? And I'm like, you're right, because she knows I ain't that dude. Like I ain't gonna never short my wife. I'm not stingy. I'm not controlling with my money, like none of that type of stuff. Like she knows that all the money is her money. Like she's good, right? Whether we're together or not, she knows it's her money. She can spend it however she wants to. But I'm still like operating on just from the premise of being a man and just looking out for my wife's best interest. And I'm like, I want her to be protected. You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm looking at it. I'm thinking I'm looking out for her. And she was like, no, I still like, even if I was really looking out, she's like, no, you got it. Like I would gladly stop working. You know what I'm saying? But not right now. Me and my wife roughly make the same amount of money. She doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like us, like me not working. I mean, like, yes, we can live on my one income, but it would be our lifestyle would take a dramatic dip. She's not married to a multimillionaire. So if you ask my wife this question, married to me, she would be like, no. That's why my wife went back to work. She was a stay-at-home mom for a couple years, and then she went back to work because I was not a multimillionaire.
As a man who gets a lot of praise and has been given a platform to speak to audiences like this one today, I pray that I always use my voice for God and not for myself. Everything I am saying to you is not from a place of wisdom, but rather a place of experience.
Neither.
I am hopeful that these words will be seen as those from a man not much older than you.
This dude's like 28, by the way.
Who feels it is imperative that this class, this generation, and this time in our...
He sounds like he's 68, right? The way he's talking, but he's only 28. Let me fast forward a little bit.
God with having children, whether that be your ideal number or the perfect time to conceive, are normal. Heterodox ideas abound even within Catholic circles. For let's be honest, there is nothing good about playing God with having children, whether that be your ideal number or the perfect time to conceive. No matter how you spin it, there is nothing natural about Catholic birth control. It is only in the past few years that I have grown encouraged to speak more boldly and directly, because as I mentioned earlier, I have leaned into my vocation as a husband and father.
So he wants to get rid of, it's all tied in together. They want to make sure women can't leave marriages, right? They want to trap women in marriages no matter what, and then blame it on, well, you got to stick around for the kids. So can she leave after the kids are 18 and they're gone? Probably not. Anyways, they want women to stay in these toxic marriages. Harrison Bukter is talking about his wife basically doing all of this free labor. That's what he's saying. I wouldn't be who I am without my wife doing all of this free labor. We know, Harrison. That's why women add so much value to men's lives. So between JD Vance and between what Harrison is saying, they both want to trap women in toxic relationships so that men can continue to steal women's labor and profit off of it themselves so they can build themselves up on the backs of women, right? And then pay lip service to them by saying, oh, the most important job, homemaker. Shut up. Then Harrison now is talking about getting rid of, he doesn't want women to be able to have contraceptive options, right? Or to be able to, abort the child, right? Those are two. So trap a woman in a marriage, knock her up a bunch of times. She can't ever get an abortion. She can't ever use contraception. And in that way, she's always constantly doing labor for you and your children all the time. That's it's all connected. Watch.
And as a man, To the gentleman here today, part of what plagues our society is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities.
Men are not necessary in the home when it comes to the best outcomes of the children, I don't think. I'm sorry, I wouldn't say. The state of men right now is so poor, it's so piss poor, that men are better off out of the homes, I believe, and out of the communities. The communities are actually statistically safer without the men around. We are not the protectors, we are the predators. So when he says, they say, put a name to it, Harrison, because the numbers say, men lie, women lie. The numbers say the neighborhoods are safer and the families are safer without us around.
In the home or in our communities. As men, we set the tone of the culture, and when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in. This absence of men in the home is what plays a large role in the violence we see all around the nation.
No, it doesn't. It's not absentee fathers. Absentee fathers is not the reason why. It's the lack of resources. It's the lack of support the mothers get. It's the kids growing up in dangerous environments like me, growing up in the projects because my father financially and emotionally abandoned me and my mother. And therefore, we had to grow up in Section 8 housing, also using government income, government supplemental income. Right? That's why. If you put Section 8 housing in nice neighborhoods, put the projects in nice neighborhoods. Let's do that. Let's build some projects. And I don't know where you guys are from. I'm from Cali. Let's build some projects in Beverly Hills. Let's build some projects in Irvine. Let's build some projects in Corona Hills, Chino Hills. I mean, let's do that. Let's put all the projects in a nice neighborhood, or let's turn the neighborhoods that surround these projects, like the ones my mom and my brother still live in. Let's surround those neighborhoods and build those neighborhoods up so that they are no longer unsafe. And watch how the outcomes of the children change drastically overnight. That is what's leading to the violence. That's the number one thing leading to the violence. The men being in the homes. Jeffrey Dahmer had a father. Jeffrey Dahmer had a father. And that's just an anecdotal example, but I'm just saying, for example, Jeffrey Dahmer had a mother and a father. It's not the dad not being there. It's the money. It's the lack of resources and or the abuse.
Other countries do not have nearly the same absentee father rates as we find here in the U.S.
Bullshit. What other countries? Be specific. Be specific. Go look at South Sudan. Go look at the Congo. Fatherlessness is rampant in those countries. Rampant. Now it's other reasons. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's rampant. So don't say that. That's not true. But what other countries? I'm sure in some other countries, but I bet you, JD, if you look at those other countries, I'll give you two ways the way that it looks. You either have a country like the US where women have autonomy or more autonomy and they can leave the marriages or whatever the case may be. Men, because of our entitlement and our disdain and hatred for women, we then turn around and we want to punish the women, so we end up punishing the children. So we abandon both parties, right? That's what happens in America a lot of times. Both men and women have the freedom to do so. Okay, in this country, men have the right. Men can abandon women and children, and women can leave men. Now, in these other countries he's talking about where it's not so rampant, there's two types of countries that I can think of more than likely off the top of my head. One of them will be countries where women don't have this autonomy, where women are trapped in these relationships the same way they were trapped in these relationships in America 50 or 60 years ago, the same exact way. That's that country. And in those relationships, those children are definitely abused and they're harmed and, so on and so forth, right? And there are people in this country right now, there are people who come from those cultures that are in America, but those cultures still exist in America, and they'll tell you what it's like in their homes. They'll tell you how rampant the violence is in their homes and how they're suffering from PTSD and whatnot from how they were raised. So he doesn't know what he's talking about, but that's one side. That's one example of those countries. The other example are the countries where the men and women have a more egalitarian approach to a relationship, where the women feel comfortable staying in a relationship with the men and the men aren't as abusive. That's a part of it. Also, in those countries, what is the economic situation of the men and women? Are men and women educated? Do men and women have access to healthcare? So on and so forth. If they do, more than likely, you won't see such an issue because all of these things are connected.
And a correlation could be made in their drastically lower violence rates as well.
In what countries? In what countries? You got to be specific. I'm sorry.
Be unapologetic in your masculinity.
Don't be unapologetic in your masculinity. Okay. Now, y'all heard JD? You heard Harrison? Watch this. Last one. It's all connected. Listen to the rhetoric. Listen to the gaslighting tactics.
Defend life before suffrage.
He starts off. Jason Whitlock says, "I will defend." Sorry, I cut off the clip. My bad.
Will defend life before suffrage because a vote used to represent the family. When we were a culture that really valued family and really understood the natural order.
When did this happen, Jason? You're talking about when black people were in chains? Or are you talking about during Reconstruction where they were locking up black people for soliciting, for not having anywhere to go? You talking about back then?
That God intended, man serving God, woman following man who serves God, man and woman developing and nurturing children.
That's not the order. The real order of the world is man following power, greed, and money, and women being harmed by other men, women and children being trampled by bigger men who are trying to get to said goals, greed, whatever, money, whatever else they want to get in power.
You only needed one vote per household because that vote was about the entire family, as they have destroyed our family structure and made this all an individual pursuit.
How did they destroy our family structure? Do we not have the freedom to be a union nowadays in 2024? Who's stopping anybody from being a family in 2024? The destruction he's talking about is allowing women the freedom to leave the relationship. That's what he's talking about. That's what he's talking about. Let's listen to it one more time.
Will defend life before suffrage because a vote used to represent the family.
A black man saying this, by the way, is diabolical. A black man talking about going back to the days when black people were in chains or fresh out of chains and they had baby chains on instead of having big, big gold, big thick chains around their necks and ankles and feet. Now they got little chains like this one, but they were still in chains, brother. We were still in chains. Talking about you would want to go back there because at that time, the women had little to no rights is wild as a black man. Because if women lose their rights, black men, we also will lose our rights.
When we were a culture that
black men will never, ever, ever pass up white tea women, right? We won't. We'll be on equal footing, but we won't ever pass up white tea women. We won't. So if white tea women lose something, black people will lose something. Guaranteed. Black men and women. Guaranteed.
really valued family and really understood the natural order that God intended, man serving God, woman following man who serves God.
Any black man talking about voting for Donald Trump, any black man talking about voting for the people on this platform that support this platform, brother Dr. Umar said some of these people need to be put to sleep for good. That's all I'm gonna say. This is crazy. I don't know what y'all talking about. Harriet should have left y'all ancestors behind. I'm gonna say it. Harriet should have never saved some of y'all great grandmas and great grandpas. Some of y'all, Harriet should have never rescued some of y'all pappies, some of y'all great grandpappies and great grandmamas. Harriet should have left some of them on the plantation. Because what are you doing? What are you doing? How can you hear this as a black person and not have every damn alarm blaring in your just like the alarms are going off for me right now? Just so loud, so loud. Anytime I hear white men talking about stripping rights from women, they don't got to even mention black people because I know we are an afterthought. If they focusing on if white men are talking about stripping rights from white women, what do you think they're gonna do to us?
Man and woman developing and nurturing children. You only needed one vote per household.
And this is why the heterosexual normative is so dangerous. It's so dangerous. Basing our whole society around having children, heterosexual people having kids is dangerous and toxic. This is reason 1000 why I support LGBTQIA rights so much. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. He just what about the women who identify as lesbian? What about the asexual women? What about the women who can't have children? What about the men who identify as homosexual or gay? What about the men who want to who are going through gender reassignment? What about trans women? What about trans men? Like, what about all of these people, sir? Do they not matter? Do they not count? Listen to what I'm telling you. You wouldn't be able to vote. This is what he's saying. You wouldn't be able to vote unless you were in a home. So if you're a woman and you don't like men, you're not, romantically, but you would have to be married to a man just so you can vote. And if only men can vote, do you think when have men ever voted with women's best interest in mind? Never. Never worry. Women need the right to vote. I'm scared to go back to the days when only men can vote. I'm deathly afraid of that. Especially the way that men's minds are wired. I'm deathly afraid of going back to the days when only men can vote. Crazy.
Because that vote was about the entire family, as they have destroyed our family structure and made this all an individual pursuit.
They're always so afraid of women being independent. Women being independent deathly it scares them deeply. They're deathly afraid of that because they know that the more freedom women get, the more they will reject men because men are not equipped. Men do not have we don't have what it takes to be in relationships with women. We don't treat them right. Period. We don't treat them right. We haven't earned the right to be in relationships with women. We haven't earned the right to be in close proximity with women. We haven't, man. We haven't. I'm sorry to tell us that. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Man, we have not earned the right to be in close proximity to women. Period. This rhetoric is deathly, it's frightening to hear as a black person, but it's just frightening in general. Should be frightening to everybody. Right? I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not telling you not to vote for. Well, I'll tell you who you can't vote for. You can't vote for these people and consider yourself an ally. You can't vote for these people and talk about you love women or you love black women or you love this woman or you love children or you can't. You can't do it. If you support this platform, you do not love black people. You do not love women. You do not love children. Period, point blank. The line is drawn in the sand. You cannot support them. Vote how you want after that. I don't care. I don't care. And you must be saying vote Democrat. I'm not. But you can't vote for them and tell me you love black people. You can't vote for them and call yourself an ally to the LGBTQIA community. You can't vote for them and tell me you love kids and you want to protect kids. You can't do that. You can't. That's all I'm telling you. If you tell me you're going to vote for these people, or I catch you sharing this rhetoric, spewing this propaganda, right? And then you turn around and act like you helping women or you help. No. I'm going to call bullshit every single time, bro. Every single time.